My topic is the difference between letting go and letting in.
They're the same thing. Letting go of resistance lets in allowing. Letting go of resistance lets in good ideas. Letting go of resistance lets in impulses, and they are the same thing. Letting go lets in. Letting go is just a step before letting in. Letting go is necessary to letting in. And you're not letting go of desire, you're letting go of resistance. You're letting go of patterns of thought that have been blocking the letting in.
Letting go of paperwork all over my desk feels very stressful sometimes.
Or letting go of the dissatisfaction of the paperwork all over the desk. So, you're going to like this.
Good. That's what I'm here for.
So, we'll just give you an example of what Esther's been doing, because she's really been after this understanding. And the idea of satisfaction is big for her right now. She's really been focusing on it since we've been talking about it so much. She heard us say on several occasions as she was listening back to the recordings, satisfaction comes from one place and one place only. Having a desire that you are moving in the direction of. Not a desire that you have fully completed, that is manifested altogether. Satisfaction is just moving in the direction of a desire, moving in the direction of it rather than in the opposite direction of it. So Esther began noticing that there were many things in her life that was so satisfying. Being with dear heart friends that she just loves spending time with, really satisfying. Going to beautiful places, really satisfying. Doing things that are new and exciting, really satisfying. But she also acknowledged that there's a lot of life lived with her in her house by herself. There's a lot of life lived with her working on a project, doing her taxes, getting her taxes ready for the CPA. She acknowledged that there are a lot of things that are required of her, or she believes are required of her at this point, that are not all that satisfying. That, in fact, could be things that she could complain about if she were being like most everybody. In other words, if somebody said, "What are you doing?" and you say, "Taxes," are they delighted with the idea that you're doing that? Or do they empathize with your struggle of all of that detail that feels unnecessary? So Esther decided for herself that she was going to see if she could find more satisfaction in more things. So she asked us how that looked, and we said it requires setting more intentions, making more decisions in every day, and then flowing in the direction of those decisions. So she began acknowledging just a handful of things that she planned to do that day. In fact, she used a process that she and Jerry read in a book long ago. It was in a book written by Alan Laken, and it was How to Get Control of Your Time in Life. And she doesn't remember anything else about that book. It was way before she had met Abraham. The only thing she remembers from that book was something that he called the Swiss cheese process. And his philosophy was that you have these things that you think you need to do, like clean out the garage, which is going to take really a long time, or maybe do your taxes, or maybe plan for a wedding, or whatever it is. And there are some projects that are just so big in scope that you never quite get to them because you never have a block of time that's big enough to get to them. So he suggested that you take those big things like that and break them down into smaller intentions. He said Swiss cheese it, like his idea was like you see a piece of Swiss cheese with all of those holes in it, and after a little while the whole thing is already taken care of. So Esther would draw circles on a piece of paper and write these intentions that she had for this day. And then she would look at the list of intentions, and she put things on it that she knew for sure she was going to do easily and gladly. And she put things on it that she knew for sure she was going to do, but maybe not so easily and gladly. And she even put things on the list that she knew she was probably going to have a hard time making herself do. She just put things that she wanted to do or needed to do, things that she planned to do. You get the idea of it. Sort of a mix of things on a big piece of paper with lots of circles. And then she would look at the page and she would say, what's the most satisfying thing on this list? And it was easy to find one. So she'd go do it. And usually it was something that didn't take very much time. It was just a little piece of it. Like she broke doing her taxes down into about 14 different things that needed to be done, and some of them are really fun. So when she turned to that page, she found something that was fun to do. She used an old-fashioned expression for herself. She said, it's like it primed my pump. Got the pump primed. If you never had a pump, then you don't know what that means. But sometimes they lose their prime and no water comes out, so you have to kind of suck on them in some way to get the prime going. And once water starts flowing, then it'll keep flowing. It's like that. What she began to notice right away was, first, it became fun to make the list, because life was kind of setting some of the intentions, but her own desires were setting others of them. But next, it was so satisfying. Then each time she'd do something, she'd take a big magic marker in colored, bright colors. She likes pink. And she would just color in that hole. The whole paper was pink. The white places were white. She makes them carefully every morning. And then when she colors them in, her intention is for the whole Swiss cheese to be all pink. She was yellow for a while, but pink's more satisfying. So, satisfaction because she's intended to do something and every motion toward it feels good. It's like putting satisfaction in things that usually aren't satisfying. And what she began to realize is that everything can be satisfying with the right attention to it. And then everything started being more fun. The piles of paper on the table did not feel like work undone. It felt like game in progress. One of the things you might even put as one of the intentions in one of the circles is just make neat piles of the stuff. Not trying to sort it, just make neater piles. And then another circle might be to turn them crisscross so that you can tell where one project stops and another project starts. Just make some sense of it. Make sense of the mess of the piles on my desk. That could be so satisfying when you just kind of get a look at it and sort it all out. Don't do it. Don't do it. When Esther rides with her family into their neighborhood, they'll say, let's check the mail. And Esther always says, yeah, check it, but don't get it. She's trying to Swiss cheese everything. Just check the mail. Don't get it. She's just teasing with them, and we're just teasing with you. But you get the sense of what we're talking about? So now go back to the piles on your desk and feel the dissatisfaction that you were feeling about them as you were expressing them to us, and then talk about them from this new framework and see if it feels more soothed to you.
That part definitely does. I think letting go. I feel like
But you keep saying letting go. What are you letting go of? Because you're not actually letting go while you're using the words letting go.
Right?
It isn't about letting go of something, it's about going somewhere else. You might say, I'm going to let go of my paperwork dysfunction. But the whole time you're talking about it, you're not letting go of it. Or you could say, I'm going to Swiss cheese my desk today. Well, while you're Swiss cheesing your desk, you're letting go of your paperwork dysfunction.
It's not just that. I feel like I'm pretty good at pivoting to a better feeling thought, and I think about that a lot.
What's got you so overwhelmed?
That unproductive thoughts keep coming back.
Well,
and I keep pushing them aside. Nope, I'm going to pivot over here.
But you see, when you push them aside, they're not deactivating. When you push them aside, you're saying, you go over there. I see you still there. You're still there. I say, you're right where I put you. You stay right over there. In other words, when you push something aside, it's like just the motion of pushing. There's only attraction. There's no getting rid of anything. You can't push anything away. You can't push it away. But you can focus on something else. Keep talking. You know enough of this, and we're nitpicking over all of your words, but there's something that is going to surface here that you're going to feel, and others too. So just keep processing with us.
So when I think a negative aspect...
Are you saying to us that you've got thoughts that you keep thinking, which is a belief is just a thought you continue to think, that are not serving you, like everybody does? Is that what you're saying to us? That you have unproductive or unnecessary or hindering thoughts?
Or memories.
And so your question about them is what? How can I render them dormant?
Yes.
How can I keep them from being active? So what's the logical answer? How do I keep a thought from being active? How do I allow it to be dormant? What's the obvious answer?
Think of something else.
Well, you went right to the answer, because most people would have said, don't think about it. And then we would have said, you took our line. We would have said, think of something else.
You have taught me so well.
Think of something else. But what we're saying to you is, sometimes the things that you think you should be thinking about, you think that they should be big, like the negative thoughts. So here, we haven't talked about this before, but oh boy, is this going to be a wonderful conversation. Think about this. This is so good. We're just going to enjoy it ourselves for a little while. First, focus upon the two ends of the stick, wanted and absence of wanted. Then let's consider, as you are presenting here, that you have an issue or a negative thought that's active, a belief or a problem or something. We are just enjoying this so much. Just give us a moment. The other end of that stick, so let's say it's something that's been going on for a while. The other end of that stick is a wonderful thing that you can't relate to at all because you're so used to being over here. And why? Because you've been Swiss cheesing that. That issue didn't get big all at once. It got big this experience at a time and this experience at a time and this experience at a time. You might feel insecure because that person said that to you in third grade and that person said that to you in first grade and that person said that to you yesterday. In other words, you've been Swiss cheesing the negative end of the stick. So we're suggesting that you now Swiss cheese the positive end of the stick. So instead of saying, I got to get my act together and get on the other end of that, which you can't do, just ask yourself, what of that big issue is bothering you the least, and then it's easier for you to find the other end of that Swiss cheese little tiny piece of the issue. For example, to make that clear, let's say that Esther's getting her taxes ready for the CPA. So what that requires is she's keeping track of all dollars in and all dollars out. That's pretty simple. And let's say she's on the expense end of it, and so she's keeping track of what she spent for cash and whether it's deductible or not, what she spent on her credit cards and what's deductible or not, what's moved through the checkbook and what's deductible or not. You get the idea. And let's say that what's moved through the checks is big because it requires reconciling bank statements on 4 bank accounts for a whole year. That's 48 bank accounts. And she wants to do it because she likes knowing what's going on and feeling the flow of things. And when she gets in the groove of it, she actually quite enjoys it. But it's a big deal and it requires a lot of... So if Esther were to say, so let's see both ends of the stick, and she were to say, got to get going on this because he's asking for it and he wants it right away. And I only have this much time. So she sets herself up for a feeling of time shortage consciousness, which sort of paralyzes her and makes her spin around in circles for a little while. You get the sense of what we're talking about. But instead, she focuses and she says, I'm going to focus on the reconciling of cash expenses. It's just a little pile of receipts. She hardly spends cash for anything. Most everything, if it's deductible, has gone through a credit card or it's gone through her checkbook. And so it's just this little pile of receipts. So she says, I'm going to do that today. So she picks up just that little pile of receipts, and in just a few minutes, she's got that part done. And then she puts her big pink circle in there and feels all satisfied about what she's done. Feels a little childish to you maybe, but it sure works for her. And then maybe she's primed the pump enough that she's wanting to do something that takes a little more time. Then she'll make another sheet with 1 bank account and 12 circles on it, and another sheet with another bank account and 12 circles on it. And then she'll look at those sheets and she'll say, I think I'll just do this today. I think I'll just do this and this. Every single time she sat to do it, this went so well that she did that, and that. Sometimes she'll do all 12 of 1 bank account in one sitting because it gets rolling, her mind's clicking, everything's flowing along. You see what we're getting at? By breaking the big bad thing down into something that she can... Jerry used to say, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. And Esther used to say, I really don't prefer elephant. But what he was getting at is, you have to find a way, play whatever game you have to play with yourself to get yourself in the place where you feel satisfaction while you do it rather than dissatisfaction. And as soon as you get into that mode, ideas begin to flow every single year that Esther sits to do that. She streamlined it. She's trimmed time off of it. New ideas flow. And that is so satisfying. It's so satisfying to get better and better and better at things, even if they're things that you formerly didn't think that you even wanted to do. Because you live for evolution. You live for expansion. And so all of a sudden, this project that you thought you didn't want to do has components in it that cause you to expand, and the expansion is the predominant thing. And in that predominant thing of experiencing the expansion, you forget about all the nitpicking things that you've been using as your excuse to not want to do it.